Alright guys, today we have a 2014. Alright guys, today we have a 2008 Suzuki SX4. This car has a bad tie rods. The inner tie rod has play. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace the outer and the inner tie rod. To replace this tie rod, you have to remove the cotter pin, remove this 17mm bolt here. Before that, loosen this up, and we're gonna count the threads on this so that way the alignment doesn't go off. But eventually the customer will have to get an alignment, but we are gonna count the threads to put it back to the same spot so that way the tires are almost perfectly straight, because he's gonna take a day off and do it next week sometime. And then to do the inner tie rod, we're gonna remove this clamp here, and there's a tie wrap back there. If you can see back there, there's a metal strap, this one right here. We're gonna break that off because we cannot reuse that, and we'll put a tie wrap there, nice strong tie wrap there to hold that up. And once we replace that, we're gonna put this boot back on and put a tie wrap in the back, put the clamp on, put the center bolt of the tie rod. We're gonna count the threads and put this back together, and we're gonna show you how to do this step by step. Alright, so the tools we're gonna need for this job is a 17mm impact socket, a plier, needle nose, long one, adjustable wrench for the inner bolt, a cutter, ply bar, and a hammer. And that's all the tools we're gonna use in the job. And we're gonna continue the job from here. And of course, to use this, you're gonna need an impact gun. Alright, so we're gonna remove the cotter pin first. What you do is take a cutter, try to break that cotter pin out of there. Tap it from the back a little bit. You tap it with the. Sometimes you hit it in the edge. It'll go back a little bit, like this one is moving already. A little bit more. Alright, now we can grab it from that back edge and break it with the cutter. Alright, so what we do is grab the cotter pin from the back end and just pull that out of there. It's okay if it breaks, we're gonna use a new one anyway. Tough one. Just gotta work your way out of there and it should come right off. One end is out and the other one should be much easier now. There you go. Next, we're gonna loosen this bolt in the center here. Loosen this one first. Oh, that's it, one turn. Now we're gonna take out this. We're gonna use an impact gun with that. It's a 17mm, so you put the impact gun on. Come right out. Next, we're gonna take a hammer. We're gonna hammer this. If you have a fork, you can fork this out of there, but usually a hammer works good right here. If you tap it here, I'll let that thing come out. It's out. Simple, a couple of taps, it comes right out. Now, like I explained, we're gonna count the threads on this, and let's see how many threads there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So every time it comes around, it turns into a 1 turn because we started off here. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's about 11 and a half. So we take a note of that, and we put the new tie rod in there. It'll be 11 and a half threads. Next, what we're gonna do is we have to remove this bolt out of there because that boot will not slide out. So you just take that bolt out of there, put some WD-40 if you need to. If you don't need to, it should come right out. You don't have to count the threads on that because you're gonna put the new bolt in there, and then just count the threads on the outer tie rod. Okay, after that we're gonna take out the clamp out here in the back on the front of the boot. Take that clamp off. That comes off. And the last thing before we get to the inner tie rod is you're gonna break that little strap there. It's a metal strap, usually ahead of the pry bar, but he's gonna be able to manage it with the needle nose. Twist it counterclockwise. You're tightening it counterclockwise. That's loose enough. So the boot should come off. Usually this boot, if it has any liquid inside, that's a sign that the rack and pinion is leaking. But I don't think this has any. No, you have to pull the boot off, and then you're gonna take out the tie rack after that. No, you're gonna pull it off. Pull it off. That's why it's a little loose. That boot is always rough to come off. It flips upside down. Keep pulling and yank it off. It should come right off. Just watch your fingers. Don't hit it with that. Grab it from the edge back. There you go. Still don't want to come out. So you're gonna wiggle it out of there. We have to push it back, and now we're gonna pull it back out. And the boot should slide right off. Put that to the side. Next, what we're gonna do is, this is the like a little where you're gonna put the tool on, the inner tie rod tool. So let's go get a tool to remove the the inner tie rod. It's a big bore there, cylinder that goes through the inner tie rod, and this grabs them to the inner tie rod. So he's gonna put the key on first. He's gotta work with 2 hands and put the cylinder in. It's a little tricky, but you gotta work with it. You went too far. That's it. That's it? That's it. And then you put the wrench in there, or pry bar in the back end of it, and then it came out. It came out from here. This works just like a wrench right through the tie rod. There you go, it's loose. Once you have it loose, you don't need the tool no more. And you twist the tie rod off. And simple, you have the outer tie rod out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the new tie rods. We're gonna put it together, see if the length is the same. Usually some of these tie rods, they have like a little washer in the back. This one don't. If it comes with the new one, we'll put it. If not, that's fine. We have the new tie rod. All you do is you put it together with the old one. See if everything looks the same, the lengthwise, the front thread depth, the back thread depth. So everything is like the distance of the thread from here to here is the same as this one. And then the same thing here. This is the same length of threads here and here. So everything looks the same. We're gonna put this new tie rod in. Or at the same time, you can put the old and the new outer tie rod also together. See if it's the same length. So that way when the counting you did is the same. So this looks about the same. It could be off a little bit, but usually they're not off. So when we count the threads, we put the 11.5 threads back. It's gonna be the same place where it came out. All right, so we're gonna take the inner tie rod and we're gonna put the inner tie rod in. All right, so you take the inner tie rod, you catch as much as threads possible before you tighten it. So we get it all the way in there. Now we're gonna put the tie rod tool on. And we're gonna tighten it nice and tight. You can torque it. We'll do that at the end after we're done with everything. Alright, he got a little bit tight, and now we're gonna torque it and we're gonna come right back, and then we're gonna put the boot on and the straps, clamp, and then we'll put the outer tie rod. So once the tie rod is nice and tight, we're gonna remove this little bolt of it because it came with the new one. This little nut, take that off so you can slide the boot on. You take the boot. Boot goes on. It should go nice and even at the end. And that tie rod at the tie strap is a little off. Try to get it at the, there you go. All you do is you take that tie strap and you pull it. Can you do it? And make it nice and tight. That's gonna lock it up, alright? There you go, and then you cut the edge. You cut the excessive off. And in the back, you're gonna put the clamp on. Make sure you put the clamp in the back end. This is a tough one. Once the boot is in, we're gonna put the bolt that goes here, the nut. I keep saying bolt, but it's a nut. Stick that in, twist that on. You don't have to count any threads on that. Now the part where you count the threads at. So this was 11.5 threads. That's about a half, right? So we're gonna do 11 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's it. And we're gonna bring that bolt back. want to show one thing. Remember we took out the cotter pin from bottom down here? This one has a mechanism, that blue little washer inside. That's like a, that works just like a, what you call it, lock. So you don't need a, what you call that, cotter pin in the bottom. So you put this in and you lock it up and you tighten it up. Put an impact in. You want to lock this bolt up too, nice and tight, and that's it. And then don't forget to tighten that. It might be a different size now, maybe 19.